One spinning is one of the hardest things Mario runners regularly do in their runs. One spinning by itself is just a simple concept of spinning the stick fast, but when you add nerves at the end of a run, it becomes a hard challenge. But today, I'll be sharing 4 different methods for you to achieve one spins, along with some tips to increase your consistency. Before we get into the methods, make sure you know the correct bomb order, because that's the one we're going to be using for this tutorial. So for one spinning, most players when they start swinging Bowser, they use their left hand to rotate the stick in a circle. And this is normally done using your thumb. And this works if you want to throw Bowser with full speed in like 2 to 3 rotations, but it's nearly impossible to actually get a one spin using your thumb. So how do runners consistently one spin? They use their right hand to rotate the stick. And this can be done by one of 2 ways, and that is either you move the stick with the right hand or you move the controller. Moving the controller is a lot more common than moving the stick with the right hand, so let's just talk about those methods first. For thumb spinning, you place your thumb on the stick and angle the controller downwards slightly, and with your right hand, you'll shake the controller in a circular motion. If you notice how the thumb is during this spin, you'll notice how your thumb is just barely moving, but the stick is still going in a circle. The main part that makes this hard is getting your thumb to stay on the stick. And this will take a lot of practice, but if you start slow and speed it up over time, you should be able to get it somewhat consistently. If your thumb is slipping off of the stick like too much, or you can't really get it to stay on the stick, we can go on to the next method, which is palm spinning. So what palm spinning is, you place your palm on the stick around the center of your palm, and then with your right hand, you do the circular motion. This one is a bit easier because the palm is a larger surface, so you won't lose control as easily versus with the thumb, where if you're slightly off of the center, your thumb might slip, but that doesn't happen with your palm. Also, you don't need to angle your controller that much for this one to work very well. The other one, it seems like angling it is a bit better, but with palm spinning, you can just kind of do it flat most of the time. A tip here is you don't want your right hand to be spinning Bowser in a large circle. You want it to be in sort of a tight circle. You'll feel the stick hit the sides of the controller, but you don't want to be like really pushing it towards the sides. You want it to be like kind of like softly hitting the sides. Also, depending on which way you rotate your hand, you will spin clockwise or anti-clockwise, right? Like if you spin your right hand or you rotate your right hand going counterclockwise, you'll spin counterclockwise. Some people find one direction better than the other, but personally, I find anti-clockwise the easiest. And usually most runners can only do one direction consistently, and while the other direction is like nearly impossible. So if you want to be able to instantly be able to spin in the other direction quickly, this is what you can do. You can flip the controller upside down and you place it on your palm, and then you can start rotating your hand like that. This will feel weird at first, but within a few minutes, if you're good at palm spinning already, you should be able to get this as well. And since the controller is upside down, if you rotate your hand anti-clockwise, the stick is actually spinning clockwise. This is really useful if you want to get like the really fast Bowser spins, which involve switching directions. That one, if I remember correctly, one of them is clockwise while the other 2 are anti-clockwise. Now this last one is a very rare way of one spinning, and it uses the right hand on the stick instead of the right hand on the controller. I will only show one of these because they're so rare and nearly no one uses them, so this is more of just like to give you something to experiment with, and if it works for you, that's good. So with your right hand spinning, when you grab Bowser, you'll immediately place your right hand on the stick and start spinning with your right hand. You might be thinking, how can I throw Bowser if my right hand is on the stick? Well, you can actually press B with your left hand. It's really awkward and you kind of have to stretch your thumb on your left hand for this to work, but if it works for you, that's good. And I know a couple people in which they actually do this. So those are most of the methods for one spinning. Now some tips on grabbing Bowser. Depending on how fast you spin, there are 2 ways you can actually grab Bowser, and that's clockwise or anti-clockwise. Going anti-clockwise is slower, but it's more consistent, and clockwise is faster, but requires faster spinning, and so it's less consistent. Personally, I go anti-clockwise because at the end of a run, my spinning isn't the greatest, and I can only use a little bit of leeway. Also, to grab Bowser as early as possible, I side flip grab him. Another tip is on regrabs. You can grab him while he's still falling down, so you don't have to wait for him to bounce. But these side flip dives are a bit awkward since the camera is like really far away. But if you side flip dive in the same location every time, you have a good chance of grabbing Bowser. And one extra tip is for the last throw to let Bowser bounce. If you're noticing that it's really hard for you to be able to throw Bowser directly at the bomb if you instantly grab him from the air on the last throw, you can let him bounce, and this does lose around half a second, but it makes the throw a bit easier because you are closer to the bomb. So experiment with that and see if that's good for you. If your PB isn't super optimized, then this might be a good thing to add onto your strats, because it only loses half a second and it'll increase your consistency. So those are the 4 main ways to achieve one spins in Mario, and of course there are plenty of other ways to one spin, but those are more rare and inconsistent. But if there's any other ways or you personally do of one spinning, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll make another video of these for more methods on how to one spin. But most likely your favorite runger is using one of the first 3 and maybe a rare last one. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I hope to see you guys next time. Remember, become legend.